Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle Wood, and today I will be talking to you about peer review and how, as an ESL teacher, to use peer review as a language learning tool in your classroom. So, first off, we should talk about the benefits of peer review. Peer review provides another set of eyes. So, especially for ESL learners and for even native speakers, whenever you're writing something down, it seems clear and concise in your head, but often when another peer reads your writing sample, there are some flaws within it. It also provides exposure to new ideas. So collaborating with your peers also just um, opens up another window for you to see things and to maybe have a repertoire of more ideas to include in your writing. And then it also, one of the most important things, it increases listening, speaking, and writing skills. And it creates social interaction. So all of these things right here are very beneficial for ESL learners, especially for young education. Creating a positive environment for them to learn in and to collaborate with their peers is great because it's not the same old teacher student lesson that they have been used to and they're exposed to every day. So giving them freedom to work with each other in the classroom and kind of have a hands-off approach for them, I think is very beneficial for their learning environment and learning experience. Role of the peer reviewer. The peer reviewer provides considerate comments that are specific towards the text. So considerate, I mean, not always sugarcoat it, but try to be polite as possible, but also, when something is not working out, also, tell them in a polite manner. And then to help the writer produce a more effective writing sample, and then comment on the writer writing, not the writer, and then not to fix every single error. So they need to understand that their role is not just to find every error and to highlight it or circle it or kind of make them feel incompetent as a learner. And they also need to have an understanding that they're not judging the writer themselves, but just the writing sample. So try to be as unbiased as possible. Have an objective view. The types of feedback to give. There's overall feedback and specific feedback. Overall feedback is the writing clear? What do you think? How does it sound? This is can be common for early stages of peer review. So if they're beginning to write an essay and they have a sample written, then this would help them kind of revise the bigger picture to make sure they're hitting all of the important points. And then specific feedback. This is more of a closer look at their writing. So it's the peer reviewer would be examining topic sentences to make sure they correlate with their main idea, organization, and grammar. So these are kind of just maybe a second revision, or if it's just an in-class writing assignment they're doing, and and they're looking at grammar or things of that nature, then this would just be taking a closer look. And then we have the fundamentals for peer review. Teachers should always provide a model first. I believe this is very important, especially as an ESL teacher, always providing a model so that students can know exactly what they are required to do and how to do this. So this can be reviewing a sample text from a previous year. You could do this together with your class. I think it's also very important to provide a rubric. So having a rubric for your students to gauge off of, and to if they're lost or confused, they can always go back and look at it to know where to go next. And then also have a estimated time length for your peer review. Either you want to do this for one class, or maybe for a few weeks. Know what you want, or how big of a picture you want this to play within your class or for the curriculum. And then having an understanding of the dynamics of the class. So you need to understand how the class works together, what group size, it should be 2 students or 4 students, and then what your main goal is overall. So is it for them to learn how to draft an essay, an argumentative essay, or for young learners, is it for them to learn how to better perfect the present perfect tense, or just the present continuous tense, or just focus on grammar or language structures? And then zone of proximal development. I think this is very very essential for peer review, and especially in ESL classroom. So be mindful of what are the capabilities of the students. Design specific peer review checklists for each class. Make sure it is within their learning zone and doesn't cause confusion. Covers previous lesson topics. So it's be target language structure, grammar. Could also be just overall topics that you're covering, to make sure that they understand the lexical knowledge and how to create an essay about that. So I think one of the best things about using peer review within your classroom is to focus on the previous lessons. So this is the way for the students to peer review each other's stuff, and to have an in-class assessment. So the students are assessing each other, and you are able to assess their assessments as well. So wherein this doesn't really feel like a test to them as much. You create a positive learning environment for them. But it's also very important to make sure that the peer review is valid, and making sure that they're not trying to assess each other's writing that's just way out of their lexical knowledge. So keeping stuff within their zone of proximal development will create a much smoother peer review process for yourself and for your language learners. Then we have some rubric examples, just very simple: what you like, what you didn't like, questions, suggestions, basically the same of that nature, both these. And then checking grammar, punctuation, and then maybe something else the teacher wanted you to check. For advanced learners, I would definitely create something more specific towards them. So thesis statement, topic statement, closing paragraphs, how well they portrayed their arguments, their supportive details, and that stuff, and not focus as much on punctuation or spelling or capital letters, because they should have an understanding of this. And then questions for peer reviewers to ask. So this kind of goes with overall feedback. Who is the audience? So how can the writer target the audience more accordingly? What is the main idea? Can the reviewer identify the main idea? So if the reviewer cannot identify the main idea, then there's definitely going to be some problems, and the reviewer needs to know how to go about this. So if having trouble seeing the writer's viewpoint, ask the writer questions before writing down a thought. So don't just assume that the writer meant this or had no idea what they're talking about, because chatting with the author about the text can help stimulate new ideas for the writer. So examples of this can be, What does this sentence what does this sentence have to do with your thesis topic? Is this paragraph helping add to the main idea? So these are more polite sentences that you can ask, or questions you can ask, and not just this doesn't make sense or I have no idea what you're talking about. So trying to be polite and genteel as possible so that, you know, one student is not just doesn't want to cooperate anymore or just loses face within the assignment. And that is about it. I think, you know, covering the basics of peer review is always to make sure that you're providing a rubric and a model for the students to focus on, and also helping them provide feedback, but in a polite way, and knowing what aspects or what key features to focus on will create a very informational lesson for your learners. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, goodbye.